Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Where are we at? Episode 118. Wow. James is on the road heading out to Montana for Western Conference. So how is that going there, James?
Oh, I'm currently in Iowa, heading north to go to I-90. I'll meet up with that, then run across 90 to 94 to get there. But it's been pretty smooth sailing. Had a little rain in Michigan, but other than that, just flew through Chicago somehow. I have no clue. There weren't any traffic backups or anything, which was very weird for me.
It's a Sunday.
But been in the sun so far. It's been about 75 degrees out here, so I'm very, very comfortable. And the road's been pretty smooth for the most part, other than road noise. But this week was pretty good for me, though, at work. Things went pretty smoothly, and I have an actual story to tell. One of our subs is holding down a retired carrier's route. The bid just went out for it. One of the top RCA won the bid, but he's not placed on it until this coming Saturday. And they wanted to force the carrier that was running that route to work Amazon Sunday. And I told them, I actually stepped in for this carrier, spoke with management, just saying, hey, take a look at this. This is what we have. And if he does work Amazon Sunday, he can grieve it. And they took the paperwork, they looked it over. I left for my route. I come back from my route, that carrier's there. I speak with him. He's like, oh, thank you for taking care of that. They took me off of Sunday delivery. So sometimes, even though you think you don't have the ability to, you can step up and say, hey, look, here's some information for you. Do with it what you wish. But the carrier has something here if you do something. So for all those carriers out there listening, protect your fellow brothers and sisters. You could probably fix the problem 90% of the time with a lot of good management. But other than that, Saturday, I took the day off, scheduled day off normally, and went to the Holly train station and did some operations on the model railroad, which was different from just running trains to circles that I used to do at Chi-Town. So that was a new experience for me. And then I took off this morning to head for Western States, and here I am. So how was your week, Bill?
Oh, fair to middling. We're still getting a mix of weather here. It can't make up its mind whether it wants to be winter or not. Again, the wind is a continuous factor every day, whether it's nice or out. And I don't understand, like everybody's commented that they've never seen so much wind, from January through. And it's getting ridiculous. I mean, especially now that I have hair, because it keeps blowing the hair in my eyes. Okay, not that bad. But yeah, we're currently in the house hunting mode, and in last hour, we actually put a financial commitment down on a property. It's a 3/4 acre. It's a little smaller in size, but room for mama's garden and chickens maybe, and closer to work, and it needs a couple touches here and there, but it's an exciting opportunity. And like James said, you don't have to be a steward to step up and protect your fellow carriers. It happens in my old office. a number of times, and they have an area steward in our office. So, and I'll repeat, our office, my office, because it always will be my office. But the fact of the matter is that, several people have stepped up and to help protect, new carriers who haven't been there for 2 pay periods, running extra on other routes versus, doing parcel work. People working on Sundays, when you're not on the volunteer list and you're working before people who do get on there on the volunteer list and aren't being scheduled. It's just a matter of, even a little bit of knowledge is dangerous to stupid management. And most of you agree that's what we have an abundance of. Other than that, just waiting to find out about what's going on with this house, and son moving to Puerto Rico somewhere around October with his wife and my grandson. And that's it. I mean, just another normal day in retirement, besides answering all the phone calls and questions, but loving life. How about you, Kristen? How's your week gone?
Oh, my week wasn't too bad. We finished up Ruby's OJT Thursday and Friday. We couldn't find a way to get those darn pedals connected properly in her Jeep Liberty, so I had to put out the money to order a set from Pedal Pros, because they're the only ones that had the type that will work for her. Hopefully those will be in by the end of this week. And so, yeah, she used my Jeep Compass to straddle in and had her first day solo yesterday. But she'll be on in probably, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so, and she'll answer you guys' questions about her first day solo. Other than that, my week wasn't too bad. I mean, I wasn't expecting initially to be the one to finish her OJT, but I was, so that was fine. And I do have a story that happened. I forgot to tell it last week. So it's been a couple weeks ago that this happened out on my route. And I think this really kind of brings home to why rural carriers are important to the communities. I was on my last main road, next to the last road, but my last main big stretch of road. And I have a lot of older couples on my route. And one of the older gentlemen that I haven't seen as much as I used to. His wife's always been the one that I've seen lately come out to the mailbox or answering the door when I have packages. But it was one of the nicer days that we had a couple weeks ago, and I'm driving up the road, and I don't know, I'm probably maybe an eighth of a mile from their stop. So I see him just walking down the road like he's out for a walk, and then he just keeps walking up towards closer and closer to me. And then he stops right in the front of the LLV, and he's just looks confused. And so I waved at him, and he kind of slides over onto the side, kind of between the mailbox where we're at, and he says, "Do you know where I live?" And my heart just sank.
God.
And I just said, "Why, yes, dear, I certainly do." And I tried to point, where I could see his driveway from where I was at, and he's like, everything looks the same. I think I got turned around. And I said, "That's okay, dear. I know where you live." And I said, "Let me pull." I asked him to step back so I could pull away from those boxes, and just talking to him a little bit. And luckily I didn't have any mail for the next couple boxes up besides the one before his. And I was trying to explain it, but he couldn't quite grasp. So I said, "I tell you what," I said, "I don't have a place for you to sit in here, but," I said, "why don't you walk right there on the side of the road, and I'll just drive really slow next to you, and we can chit-chat, and I'll get you home." And so we did, and as we got a little closer, then he recognized the sign that's out by his driveway. And he goes, "I think that's my driveway." I said, "Yes, it is." He's like, "Oh, good." He goes, "It's just such a nice day. My wife told me to not get lost or turned around, and here I am." I said, "It's okay. I got you home." He goes, He goes, can this be our little secret? I said, yes, it will. I said, I tell you what. I said, how about if I give you your mail and your packages and I'll make sure you get them up the porch? And I said, then she'll just think you stopped at the mailbox. And he just gives me this big old smile. And he's like, thank you, dear. I'm like, not a problem. And I sat there and waited till he was up to his front door.
And then she spilled his secret out on our podcast.
I didn't list any
your
names.
word and you spilled it out. You gave him your word and you spilled it out. Jeez.
I don't think his wife's going to be listening, honestly, but I think I will make a point if I do talk to her when he's not around, just to let her know.
Yeah.
But the last time I went to the door with a package, she answered. He was sitting in the chair right there, so I wasn't going to spill the beans in front of him. But if I like catch her walking out to the mailbox or something by herself when I'm coming back down the road from the other way, I'll stop and say something to her. But yeah,
but you've got to worry about somebody like that going out in the wintertime and doing the same damn thing.
Oh, I know, and not knowing, like I said, I always used to laugh because I always thought he was flirting with me. And so I was just kind of laughed about it. And then because I didn't see him coming out to the mailbox as often. And then when I go to the door, it was always his wife. Well, now I understand why. So I do keep an extra eye out when I'm going down that road now. Definitely.
And the only thing people should be thinking about with that story is, what if it was an Amazon driver? They change them over more. They change them more often than I change my T-shirts.
Or UPS or FedEx or any of them. They wouldn't have known who he was or where he lived. And as carriers, we get to know our customers. We know who they are. We know where they live. Sometimes I don't recognize them at the gas station when they come up to me. But, it's, yeah, okay. I just didn't recognize you in your work clothes. Usually I see you, in your lounge clothes at home. But
yeah, even local police officers are that way now. They don't know everybody,
Yeah, it's that's one of the reasons why rural delivery is important to the communities. We take
any USPS delivery.
Yeah, we take care of our customers. We make sure they get home safe if they're turned around and don't realize where they're at, even though they're right there. Yeah, that one, like I said, it made my heart sink when he came up to me and asked me if I knew where he lived, and I'm like, okay, let's make this as positive as we can for him, and we'll get him home. Even if I would have had to, if he was that turned around or that confused, I would have just parked the truck, secured it, and walked him home if I had to. But, we were close enough. Like I said, I could see the driveway right there. So I said, you just stay to that side of me. That way I wasn't worried about some idiot flying down the road too, and potentially hitting him, because they do tend to fly through there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my my experience a couple weeks ago. But other than that, it's been pretty normal.
Surprised you didn't get a semi-stationary event recorded.
Yeah.
Oh, I did get a stationary event recorded last Saturday at one of my hardships. It was Tuesday when the supervisor came up to me and said something. She goes, "You normally don't have these." And I said, "Well, where was it?" "Oh, I don't know. I didn't look." I said, "When was it? Was it yesterday or was it Saturday?" I don't know. I didn't check." I said, "Well, I can tell you it was probably Saturday and I was at one of my hardships." She never bothered me again after that.
I would have turned around and said, "You didn't bother to find out any information about it that could clue me in?"
Right? She just saw the notice and didn't bother to look into it further before she came at me about it. So I'm just like, well, when you can give me the information, I'll answer you. But otherwise, I was at one of my hardships on Saturday a little bit longer than I was normally. That's all I said. I was working.
That's when
I was working.
You have a Bill moment and say, "Hold it! You're coming over here to accuse me of something you saw, but you didn't research. You don't know where. You don't know for how long, and you don't know what day."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you don't even know when.
When you get your shit together, come back and talk to me.
Right.
I swear.
Oh, I know.
The one guy on RD20, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cluster box units, and he's there for 15, 20 minutes every day.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell him, you've got to take a lunch. He's, well, no, I'm at the cluster boxes, but you can't have a stationary event that long. Well, I've got 5 cluster boxes, and I'm making 4 or 5, 6 trips back and forth to the truck. That's unacceptable. And he just looks at him like, hello.
Oh, I know, right? It's crazy. Like one of my other hardships, the one that I helped out, made Thanksgiving dinner for, and Amazon had a sale on the expensive dog food. She gets her little dog, so she bought the bigger bag, and it was one of the big boxes. And I have no problems taking that into her foyer for her. And she's like, well, no, I'll have to get somebody to help me to take it out of the box. And I said, where do you want the bag at? As I started opening the box for her. And she showed me where to put the bag. And I did that. I said, now where do you want the empty box? And I put that where she asked, where she pointed me to put it. I mean, that's just the little extras. I'm not going to expect an 89-year-old woman to handle a 50-pound bag of dog food. I'm not going to do that.
For an extra $5, you'll clean up the poop in the yard too.
No, she's got somebody to do that already.
That's what modern management does not understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
They talk about making a more modern postal service, making things more modern, more advanced. But you have to remember your roots. And what was that service we provided?
Yeah, the management takes the service out of it completely anymore. And that starts way up
Universal.
at the top. Way up at the top, all the way down. And you know what?
And the people that agree with them on that don't help the cause either.
No.
Well, James, you can have all the tools that you're needed and required to do the job. But if you got idiots operating the machine, yeah, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, yeah. I can't enunciate enough that if you don't have properly trained, experienced, educated people running the system who are knowledgeable in the contract, knowledgeable the M38, in the Elm, RCAM, Rex, how you expect them to be able to manage effectively and efficiently if they don't have the knowledge to do the job in the first place?
And they don't even want to know because they think they're right no matter if they're not.
Because they're told by upper management that they're right and we're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the same way where you're talking earlier, James, about people, management doesn't want to meet with your grievances, and you document every day that you try to do these, and at the end of 10 days, you just push it up there and say, management failed to meet with me in a timely fashion, and the fact that they failed to meet with me was their intention to dismiss the grievances. So therefore, I mean, they're breaking the contract by failing to meet with you, and wantonly so.
For some context for our listeners, this was a pre-show discussion that we were having with somebody who wanted more information about grievances with management that refuses to meet and what to do with those steps. And we had a long discussion about it. And the biggest takeaway from it all is you've got to try to meet with management every single day for the 10 days you're required to try and meet with them. And if there is no mutual agreement to extend deadlines, so you have to kick it up to step 2, as management denied the grievance.
Exactly. You don't get into a pissing match over it. You just follow procedures. push it up above them, and guess what? You turn around, you're going to be able to come back and file another grievance for, like I said, failing to settle it at the lowest possible level by failing to hear it in the first place.
Yes.
I had an email come through today, a couple hours ago. I'm just seeing this. I'm going to read this one and let you guys take it. There is additional documentation that I'll post privately, but regular carrier for over 20 years, was out on OWCP, and on first day back, had a blue heeler dog. Ran into me biting the bumper on the van. I reported it, etc. Supervisor 1 says it's all right, keep going. I explained dog has what appeared to be a broken lid, etc. Owner's seen it happen. They would be calling the office. 20 minutes later, supervisor calls me and says, go back, we got to do an accident report. Supervisor 2 tells me I'm being put off the clock. They came out there and left me with angry customers and without a secure Uber ride back to the office. What can I do?
What? They left her standing there on the side of the road and did not transport her back to the office?
Well, I don't know if this is a her or a him, but the carrier, yes. And this was addressed
Okay,
to
the carrier.
Bill, need advice. The title is Bill, need advice.
Bill, do you want to take a minute to keep your nerves down a little bit, or you want to take it and just run with it?
Go ahead, you start, because I'm just like, I can't even believe they would do that. I mean, take it, James. This is, oh God, man, I gotta get my
So
blood pressure
far,
medicine.
I already see 4 grievances in that little email alone. Number 1, they abandoned her on the side of the road. Management's responsibility is to ensure your safety from the time you punch in to the time you punch out. The fact that they neglected to bring her back to that office created an unsafe work environment. Secondly, it created a hostile work environment. Thirdly, you put her on emergency placement for an accident with a dog, which was an unpreventable accident.
Yes.
Now, I could understand if they were looking down at their phone or distracted by something else and ran into a mailbox or hit a tree with the vehicle, or worse, ran into a guardrail. I've seen a picture of that. But this was unpreventable. There was no way the carrier could have prevented this accident from happening other than not being at work that day. And you turned around and you created a hostile work environment. On top of that, you now have a retaliation under OWCP claim, because it sounds like management was fine with it until they looked at who it was, found out it was the person on OWCP, and retaliated at them for getting injured on the job. At least that's my first look opinion of that. Bill?
All right,
You calm down?
I wouldn't go so far as, the retaliation with the OWCP, even though there may be some latent feelings from management in that regards. The first and foremost is that you left the carrier on the side of the road. Okay, James says the supervisor is responsible for your safety. Therefore, right then and there, I would have filed there, for a hostile work environment, unsafe work conditions, 1767. And I would have been livid to the point that you left them at the scene of the accident, as it sounds like, where you just ran over somebody's pet because the pet was unrestrained and came after the vehicle. Now, I hate to tell you that liability falls upon the customer, but the customer's not seeing that way because their pet is now injured. And you're standing there with your lunch bag and your purse or your phone or whatever in your hand, and you've been abandoned. And that's what it is. You've been abandoned by management. How are you supposed? I would file a grievance for getting paid, getting reimbursed for Uber back to the office so you can get your vehicle. I
And
would
the
file
time.
for and the time, yes, because until you clock off, you're still on the clock.
They probably took the scanner and clocked her out, so you could get them for falsifying a time record too.
Yes, you could. Yeah, if they did that, if they were even smart enough to do that, James, you're
I
giving them a
guarantee you they
little bit.
put it in the computer. I guarantee you they
Yeah,
put it in the computer on the E4240, so you got them there anyway for falsifying it.
and plus the fact that if they didn't do it on the scanner, that would be your secondary proof. It's this is the horseshit that really gets me across the country in regards to management's attitude. And the reason they feel they're entitled to do this is because our national steward system and our national board has done nothing to protect the carriers.
They've
Are you
enabled
going to
them.
have this? Yes, you have enabled them. But can you address every situation? Probably not. Okay. Numerically, it's impossible to be able to do that. But if you set the groundwork, the framework for prosecuting management for these egregious acts against carriers, it will filter down, or in this case, up to management to stop playing these games. The same way where management turns around and they use a formula to make route adjustments in an office, give you the route adjustments, and then call you back later that day and say, "Oh, we were just notified by district we used the wrong formula." How the hell could that actually happen? And that's one of our listeners that give me that information. They have to send it back again and get it done. The stuff that they get away with is criminal. Nothing short of criminal. And if my wife was the rural carrier that was left by the side of the road, I'd probably be in jail that night. Because I'd have gone to the post office and kicked somebody's ass. How dare you leave somebody abandoned on the side of the road?
It's inhumane. They're treating them that they are less than human.
Kevin, I'm coming down there for the crawfish, okay? But you're right. You can't get a seniority matrix. You can't get a radar report. You can't get a PTR report. The irresponsibility and lack of experience in regards to what they are required to do on the local management level is just unbelievable. But they're going to be there for their 10 a.m. telecoms, aren't they? They're going to be able to have their lunches whenever they want to, or have the food delivered to the window for them. Because I've seen that more than enough times. Jeez, our Uber Eats driver in Westchester was on the first name basis with the clerks at the window.
Oh, and don't forget that we get emergency placed for having an earbud in our ear, but management could be on their telecom while they're delivering the mail.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that one too.
Or in certain situations, people have hair that goes down over their ears, so you can't see their earbuds as they're walking on the floor, talking to their daughter about what to wear to school that day. Mm-hmm.
I got another email for you guys while we're killing time here. This one came in a couple days ago. It says, "Hi there, I've recently found your podcast and have loved listening to you all lately. Well, thank you. I have some questions and hoping you guys can help me out. Number 1, can you go over the 4241M and explain what each column means and the numbers along with it? I just asked for mine and I've never seen one before this count, and I'm just a little confused on how it's supposed to be interpreted." I don't remember if we went over the 4241M previously. I know we did the 4241A on the aftermath. I was kind of
No, we have not gone over. We have not gone over the 4241M, but that would actually be a very good one.
Mm-hmm.
We'd probably have to break it up into 3 days. if we were going to 3 episodes, if we were going to discuss it
That's
one
a lot.
episode per page.
I mean, the
Because-
best I can say otherwise is in the Rex Guide. The comprehensive Rex Guide has explanation of it and how it compares to the old one.
And that would be in the middle of the pack of pages. It's a 99-page document, so you're looking right around the 40s or 50s of pages. It's going to actually have them broken down right there for you.
Okay.
Can't remember the exact page number off the top of my head, though.
But yeah, that is a good one to go over.
Yes.
Number 2. Pretty often our DPS will come in and be out of order, like chunks, just stuck in random places in the tray that you have to fix. Being that I don't case mine, I'm wondering if this should be miscellaneous time during count because of it happening so often. Actually, it's a piece count at the end of shift duties.
Yes. Every chunk that's out of order, if you already passed the address, throw it in your return to the office, case it up when you get back, because you don't have time out on the route to do that with the standards that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take the time to fix it. Just throw it in your bucket and bring it back to the office.
Yep.
Number 3, I've heard mixed information on this, so I'm wondering what you've been told or know to be true. If you have a larger parcel and a spur for the same address and take them both to the door and scan, do you get to the door credit for both of them?
Yes.
You took
You
both
get
to the door. Yeah.
You get the single door credit for the delivery, but they're both considered medium to large parcels. So you get a little bit better credit when you combine them together like that, going to the door, compared to sticking one in the mailbox and delivering one to the door. Although sticking one in the mailbox and delivering one to the door supposedly gives you 2 scan credits for the address.
Because you're closing them out individually.
Because they're separate deliveries, one's in the mailbox, one's to the door. They don't get combined at the end of the day.
Oh.
But to ease people's mind, we've also been told that if you take parcels and you deliver them to the door and you scan them separately, it doesn't matter if you scan them separately or scan them together, you get the same credit because it's at the end of the day when they all come together.
All right.
And you know what?
Go ahead, Bill.
You're playing with semantics here in regards to trying to get most of your numbers. Remember, you're still in the customer service business, ladies and gentlemen. So take them both to the door. Okay, there's not going to be that much gain from doing one to the mailbox and one to the door. So provide the service that we're known to provide.
The only time I recommend sticking it in the box is if it's something that can blow away compared to the other box, and you have nothing to stick on top of it to keep it from blowing away.
Or medication. I prefer to secure medication
yes.
in the box rather than at the door as well.
That's very true. Yes.
Windy days, I always lift the bigger box and slide the little piece underneath there with the corner hanging it, holding it down. Mm-hmm. That's just me.
All right, number 4. We were not given any walk distance for our countables, and I think it's because our clerk pushes the cart around for us to sign whatever we have that day. We've always gotten footage before, even if it was only to the center of the room from our case and back. It was something. I personally don't think this is right, and if we're not getting footage, we should get something for having to sign for them, right? When I questioned it before count, the PM just said we don't get credit anymore because certified mail comes in the DPS. True, but we have to sign for our arrow keys daily. I feel that we should get something for it. Thoughts?
So in my office, we did have the clerk coming around to deliver the things to us. And so we actually measured from our case to where the clerk cart would normally be during the day coming around. And that's the footage that we got in my office. They've since changed that. And now the footage is to the cage because the clerk doesn't come around anymore. But when it was coming around, we measured to where normally the clerk would be standing for us to accept our accountables, including arrow keys and any other accountable mail that they had to hand out.
And also, on to that point, James, if the clerk comes around on an infrequent basis, then you should be getting that round trip distance to the cage or wherever they store the cart, because of the fact that it's not provided as an everyday service.
Yes, the regular location.
We have filed in one on that one also, because of the fact that the clerks, depending on staffing, weren't available to bring the cart around, or too many parcels, any number of excuses. So we got that credit to the accountable cart area, period.
So if you're moving, even if it's 2 feet to the accountable cart from where you stand in your case that should have been measured, I would say if you have a 0 for distance for accountables, file a dispute. You have until the 18th. That would be my advice.
Yes, mine too.
And finally, closing out, thank you for your help. Appreciate what you guys are doing for our craft. Love getting to listen to you while I'm working.
That's it.
Thank you for reaching out to us.
Yeah.
I'm talking about closing that one out on a positive note.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're still waiting for the RCA's first day.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I know.
Think we should fill in with the other topic I have on hand?
Go ahead.
Literally?
Yep.
So we're going to have some fun now. So everybody obviously knows the Postal Pulse survey came out. And we all know how people feel about it. We know Kevin Terry likes to tout it in all the groups that he's the admin of or controls. And of course, APWU and NALC have said not to fill it out. But I wanted to go over the new questions they have and kind of do a comedy sketch of what I think about those questions. And I want to get your guys' comedy sketch of what you think about the question. How does that sound?
Sure.
Is this uncensored?
Uncensored.
Okay, I'm in.
So on the Scantron style sheet. Now I'm kind of sad because they removed the I have a best friend at work question on there, but I don't think they want us to have friends at work. I think they just want us to be mindless drones. But
Right.
Question number 1. I am proud to work at the Postal Service. Well, I am proud to work at the Postal Service. I am proud to be part of the An RCA, and I am proud of the work that I do and accomplish for my craft and my customers. And whether they take that as a positive for the office I work at or not, I don't care. I love my job. I love my craft. I love my career. Well, you guys.
Crickets.
I love
Wow.
I love being a postal carrier. I love being outside with my customers and the kids and the animals, the friendships that I've gained through the years. I love the fact that I was able to restrain myself from physically assaulting anybody inside the post office, even though they got on my last nerve on a daily basis. And I love the fact that I've never been convicted of a crime during my tenure at the post office in relation to my job duties. Kristen?
My answer would be, yep. No, I do. I love my job. I love being a service and a familiar face to my customers, even when they don't realize where they're at. We are we're there for our customers, and that's the part that I really enjoy about my job. And what makes me proud to be part of the post office is being able to provide that service.
Question 2. I intend to stay with the Postal Service for at least the next 12 months. I plan to stay with the Postal Service until I retire. That's the plan of a career. Now, there are other people who think that it may not last that long because of specific things going on outside of the Postal Service. But I plan to work for the Postal Service to the day I retire because that's what a career is for. I think that this question is more geared towards non-career workforce employees who probably will find out how exactly toxic and hostile the work environment is and how low the pay really is and how little they get to take home. And maybe even first year career employees after they've been an RCA for 5-6 years, making more money as an RCA than they do as a career regular carrier. Bill?
Too late. Does not apply.
It does not apply.
He's an NA, non-applicable.
Yes, but that's not even on here anymore.
Do I plan on sticking around for the next 12 months? Well, you've got me for the last 10 and a half years. I guess I'm here to stay. I mean, I've got 18 and a half years to go before I can retire. So I guess, yeah, I'll be around for at least 12 more months.
Yeah, here's a clincher one. I would recommend the Postal Service as a great place to work. Depends on your idea of a great place to work. If you love being outside in all types of weather, dealing with customers who mostly love you and animals that mostly love you and very little oversight when you're out on the road other than a little computer underneath the dash, I mean, it's a great place to work. But when you get into the micromanagement, the hostile and toxic work environments, again, you know, that's where I would wonder if I would actually recommend this as a place to work. Now, if we get a great tentative agreement that could actually sustain people in most of the jurisdictions of the United States, then it probably raised the bar on that. But I don't know if I could actually recommend somebody to work for the Postal Service in the current condition that it's in. Bill?
A Y F K M. Are you fucking kidding me?
Told you it was going to be a comedy hour.
Only if I really hated you would I do that. Kristen?
I'm guilty.
Yes, you are. And you daughter years from now will sue you for mental cruelty.
Yeah.
I just keep reminding her it's not fast food, and where else locally are you going to be making $20.38 an hour?
Yep.
Let's see, Wawa, Walmart,
Not here.
Wegmans.
Not here.
Not here.
Yeah, but you don't have to drive your car either.
Yeah, I know. I've got an LLV, but yeah, she's got my car right now.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next question?
My work gives me a sense of personal accomplishment. I think every time I help a carrier out and put management in line and make sure that management actually follows the documentation they agreed to in the first place, I think that's a sense of personal accomplishment. Doing my job every day and going home to my loved ones, like Bill says, that's a personal accomplishment to me. You know, getting the paycheck every 2 weeks. Although some carriers haven't gotten a paycheck again. That does give me a sense of accomplishment. I did work to earn money. Do I want more money? Everybody wants more money. But I think a personal accomplishment is the work that I do with the union and the craft. Bill?
Now, the question was, does your job give you a sense of personal accomplishment, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm just clarifying, because in a lot of sense, we're almost robotic in nature in what we do. Raw mail, flats, everything we do is rote. We do it out of almost autonomous type nature because we do it all the time, the same way, day in and day out. As far as having a sense of personal accomplishment, I would have to say that, being on the route gives you the greatest sense of personal accomplishment because of the people that you see every day. And regardless of the situation, how happy people are to see the mailman. I mean, whether, it's people with their pets, kids and all, the older people. I like the story where the lady reported, by Don Madson's prompting, that she was in Louisiana and they had a snowstorm down there and they didn't deliver mail for 2 days, and on the third day they're back delivering mail, and it almost brings having the mail carrier come around almost develops that sense of normalcy. You're returning back to being normal because of the fact that you have the mailman's making the delivery, so you're almost euphoric that everything's right in the world. But the other sense of accomplishment is the people that we've helped, the people that have become stewards, after listening to us on the podcast, the people that, text us and call us and IM us in regards to having assistance and helping them out. That's the sense of accomplishment I get because of the fact that nobody else stands up for them. And even the people in the national steward system who are supposed to represent them able to do their jobs in a due diligence fashion. We're there to help back them up, so that they have a sense of value and worth in regards to doing their jobs. Kristen?
Yeah, I think it's more of the times when I really get to help customers out more on a personal level that I get that feeling more than anything. Or when I prove management wrong and throw it in their face. That'd be about my two scenarios on when I would feel that.
Okay, next one. I know what is expected of me at work. Well, considering the documentation that is available to every craft member, we should know what is expected of us at work by the documentation that we have on file. What we do not expect is management to unilaterally, maliciously, and intentionally violate those documents that we're supposed to know and do the jobs that are listed in there. So I know what's expected of me unless management makes a unilateral decision. Bill?
Did we lose Bill?
I think we lost Bill.
Is he picking
I'm
in?
sorry. I'm sorry there. Um, I was looking at the baby. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. Anyway,
That's a good distraction.
I expect management to treat us like a bunch of brain dead zombies without questioning them whatsoever. Kristen?
Yeah, I know how to do my job. I know how to do my job better than management in my office. So yeah.
I mean, them And people who've never been carriers, for the most part, are telling you how to do your job.
Yep.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Mine were clerks.
Yeah. All right. Next question. I have the resources to do my job effectively. As long as they're provided for me. If they aren't, I file forms to make sure I get the stuff that I need. It's that simple. Kristen?
What happened to Bill?
Oh, we're going to let Kristen go first.
I thought Bill was at another non-applicable to this one.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
No. I can still comment on it.
All right.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay.
He wants to subvert me. Go ahead.
Do I have the tools? In general, yes. But when it comes to getting vehicles fixed, that's totally different story. Hazard lights have been written up 3 times. Brakes have been written up twice. We have 3 trucks that need a transmission. It's a month-long wait for transmissions, but they can't put mine in to get the brakes done. And yes, those vehicles are still on the road that are waiting for transmissions.
Jeez.
As well as the ones that are waiting for brakes.
Yep. All right, next question. Or Bill, go ahead, fill it in.
Bill first.
Oh my God, Jesus.
I was out of rotation, so, you know.
Yes, I'm lower than whale shit here, you know? Damn. But what was the question?
I mean, it doesn't apply to you, but
Well,
I have the resources. I have the resources to do my job effectively.
No. Let's take, for example, the last mini mail survey. This is where your tubs go. Here's where the EM trays go. Here's where the EM trays go. Oh, a month later, they change the location. Oh, I have a hamper full of parcels coming off the parcel sorting machine. I have a hamper full of parcels in the bullpen area, plus large parcels stacked next to it. And then you're going to question my load time because I have to go get an extra hamper to unload the bullpen hamper as well as put the large ones. And they're not located in an area convenient for me. I can't go get my accountables because there's no accountable clerks available and you have it locked up in a cage. I can't go out and deliver my route because on average, 3 routes every day have to wait 3.5 to 4 hours waiting for carriers to bring trucks back because there's a shortage of trucks. But you're going to adjust routes, create new routes for people who don't exist yet and will not have vehicles on top of the other 3 carriers who are waiting every damn day. No, I don't have the resources.
That was actually a very good answer. I'm glad we left it for the end.
Well, experience counts, buckwheat.
My job makes good use of my skills and abilities. Well, obviously, the ability of memorization of 85% of the information I read does really help things out. But I think that in terms of skills and abilities, I don't think there are the skills and abilities to do this job are taught to you in this craft. And some people have the ability to pick up the skills and abilities to do this job. Some people don't. We've met those people. Bill, Kristen, both know they've taken people out as trainers and they're not going to make it. It's clear and simple because they won't be able to grasp the skills and abilities to do the task. But overall, as a craft employee, I have the skills and abilities to do the job. Bill?
Yes. I probably took a month when I first started to develop the skills and abilities to do the job as I was trained. I refined those skills and abilities over the course of a 26-year career based on mail volumes and the increase of parcel volumes over the years. I've modified, my skills and abilities to mirror the wants and needs of the career as it's changed over the years. So being, adaptable to situations, I have to say yes. And I've developed those skills and abilities on my own with no support from management.
Yeah. Kristen?
Yep.
Well, if you're
So
going to
you're
be
just
like
answering it
that,
like you're taking the survey. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Obviously,
am
I've
given.
stuck with it for the last 10 and a half years. Yes, I do have the skills and abilities for the job.
I am given opportunities to grow and develop in my current role. Now, that could be any idea you guys. I'm going to let you guys take this one because to grow and develop in our current role as a rural carrier means our routes get bigger. We develop more work to do, not get smaller and develop more work to do. But go ahead, Bill. Go ahead first.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Kristen?
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too. Um, um, how do you really answer that?
Exactly.
Like if I was a manager, maybe if they were offering higher positions for me as I grow and continue to actually do a good job, by honoring the contracts that are signed by national management, following the rules and regulations of the post office and the manuals that pertain to the job that I'm doing. I mean, if that was the case, then maybe you could answer that question. But for craft employees, I don't know if you can actually grow and develop beyond the craft employee that you are without going into management.
Well, the other exceptions would be, stepping up to be a local steward, stepping up and being active within the union to one extent or another, becoming an OJI and training, becoming an academy facilitator and training the new RCAs, onboarding, and then training in the office as an OJI. Those are the only other things that I can think of that where you would develop and grow as you continue on. That would not be management, is doing the extras, whether it's within the union or within your office, helping the newer people coming in.
I like my answer better.
I understand how my job contributes to the success of the organization. The success of the organization, I should say. Well, I believe that all craft employees, whether it be the rural carriers, city carriers, clerks, janitors, VMF, mail handlers, contribute to the success of this organization. Upper management, no, they don't contribute to the success for it. They actually contribute to the decline of it because of their micromanagement. If they would just turn around, take 5 seconds to take a deep breath and look back at what this organization has been and where it's going, I guarantee you, instead of moving the metrics, you fix the problems, this organization would run a heck of a lot smoother. Bill?
I believe that for the most part, most craft members, regardless of which craft they belong to, are there, in their own interest of earning a paycheck, maybe for furthering their career, getting retirement and everything. Whereas management only looks to their own means in regards to what they can do to aggravate the craft members. I mean, and everybody's seen it in all the offices except for the unicorns. that management belittles everybody. They don't build them up. They don't assist them. They don't offer words of encouragement. This is how you motivate people. No, they nitpick. Oh, you had a stationary event. Oh, you ran over somebody's dog, so we're going to leave you on the side of the road. That's not the way you generate, the type of employee that you want. And it's funny because if you get rid of, if you don't get rid of it, if a seasoned employee leaves you and you have to hire someone to replace it, on average, it's probably 4-1 in the post office just to get a replacement for that individual. And that one individual may or may not have the attributes to fulfill the duties of a rural carrier and develop those skills, over the years. How likely is it that individual is going to meet or even exceed the capabilities of the employee you lost? And you lost them over what? You lost them over an EP that was unfairly filed against them, and the union failed to protect them. You got rid of them because of personality differences. You don't know what's going on with people's lives because you're not involved with the carriers on a personal level, and that's a shame because the fact that a lot of management can't separate the business and the personal, and still be involved with the carriers that are under them. The fact of the matter is that I really stay up late at night worrying about where the hell this post office is going with the current crop of management. They do nothing but belittle and berate their employees. And that's not how you motivate people. And that's not how you create a successful organization, let alone a profitable one. And we could go down a whole different, row on that one in regards to being a profitable organization, even though we're considered a service. But the fact of the matter is that we could be if it was run correctly. Imagine the money the post office would have if they didn't violate the contract every damn day. So I'm done. Kristen?
Ditto.
Ditto. All right, this is a really, really big one. My opinions matter. Well, not on this damn survey, but in my office with management that actually listens to understand instead of listening to just respond. Yeah, my opinions do matter. And so do the opinions of my fellow coworkers in the office. And that's the most important part. My opinion doesn't matter to my poom. My opinion doesn't matter to my district manager. It doesn't matter to anybody above my local management. It matters to our listeners. It matters to our union because we know they listen to us. But in the higher levels of the organization, lowly craft employees don't matter. Bill?
I would have to say my opinion does matter because of the fact that when I do speak, management does listen. They often will ignore my opinion in fear for their own jobs. But the fact of the matter is that they know what I'm speaking of. And that's why I was successful in filing grievances and winning. My opinion matters to my fellow carriers because they see me standing up for myself and others. And they know that there's a voice out there and that they also have opinions that, should be heard. Do they matter to management? For the most part, no. But do they matter to me and others around me? Yes. Because as soon as you become silent, you lose. If you don't stand up and fight, you lose. They'll tell you if you can't win every fight, Bill. Well, if you don't show up for the fight, you'll never know. And when you don't show up for the fight, management wins. So stand up and fight, offer your opinion, offer your advice, and let others see you do that so that you can encourage them to stand up and offer their opinions too. Kristen?
Oh, another one of those. How the hell would I answer this one?
Puff, puff, drag.
Right? Wow. Yeah, I mean, those higher up, no. And I guess it would depend on which person in management in my office you were talking to. One may take it under consideration, the other one will go on the defense and claim that they're right about everything. As for coworkers, yes and no. It just depends on the circumstance or even the question that they're asking my opinion on. But honestly, in my personal thing, it's yes or no both ways. It just depends. There's really no yes, my opinion matters or nope, absolutely not. It just really depends on the situation, the topic it's about, and who's the one asking.
Isn't that funny?
Or not asking and is on the receiving end of it anyways. All right, let me.
Got my second cat picture.
Is there any more questions, James?
There is. So we got through 1 through 10, and there's 23 questions.
Oh, well, I think we're good.
Oh, just pick the juicy ones, okay?
Let me,
Okay.
I'm gonna mute myself real quick and get the new RCA down here. I know baby's getting
Okay.
temperamental, so.
Well, we can wait for that. That's fine. I just wanted to have a little fun with the postal pulse we were waiting for. But it's
you know how many, James, you know how many times I've sent that postal survey back with my name and address on it, okay, and my post office, explaining to them in no uncertainty, with severe profanity included, that it's a waste of time, a waste of money. You don't care. You're only doing this because it's one of these requirements that you have to have. Saying that you take into consideration the employees. It means nothing. What a waste of time and money. And they keep sending them out.
Yep. I actually had somebody comment.
Yes, Rich, put in there. You're supposed to get paid for it. Yes. Put it on your damn 4240.
All right.
Here's the thing. I got a comment on that, and they said, the last time they saw a survey with pretty much these same exact questions was when they worked at a nuclear power plant. And it really is just a survey sent out by management that has absolutely no blank clue of what's going on the workroom floor.
Yep.
All right. We have Ruby joining us now.
We have a brand new carrier joining us.
A brand new RCA. Yes. Her first solo day was yesterday. Go ahead,
you poor
guys.
thing.
Ask her the questions.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Then I forgot.
Then you delivered the mail
on the way.
So how was it, Ruby?
It sucked. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, tell us about it. What specifically was the problem with it? What sucked about it?
Yeah, don't hold back.
Don't hold back. We're friends here. So are the listeners.
Come on. She says she doesn't want to do it now. Can I tell him?
Uh-oh.
All right. I guess I will. I'll give the story, and if she decides to jump in and correct me, she can.
Well, get some of it just a little wrong, so she does.
Let's warn let's warn the listening audience that this is secondhand hearsay.
Yeah, she's sitting right next to me, so she can jump in and correct me anytime.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
being that yesterday was my K day, obviously there's no way of me being compensated to go out and help. So, as with any new RCA, I will help get them out of the office. That's just how I am. So, got her situated with casing. I'm over casing my route. I checking on her in between while I'm still waiting on the clerks to finish throwing. If she's can't find something or if it belongs to the PO box because that is the route. It does have a lock pouch on it, so I, go back to casing. She's casing up her DPS. Take my first load of parcels out. Blah blah blah. So I get all done. I'm got my last load ready to go, pulled down. I go over there and help her with the packages. And so when it was time for her to go load, I went out and loaded mine as well. And she still had to pull down. So while I was loading my truck, she was pulling down. And then so we both departed to the route about the same time. She left just a little ahead of me. And I'm going. And I get a phone call probably within the first hour. And we had put markers in the case for the hardships that was there for, borrowed RCAs or whatnot. The first hardship, though, didn't have a marker, and she missed it. And it threw her completely off. A lot. And she called me basically in tears, ready to call the supervisor to figure out how she can effing get the mail delivered because she was going to quit. Am I right? Yeah, she's nodding and smiling. I talk her out. I talk her down. I said, "Where are you at?" And I don't know. And I said, "No. Where's what box are you physically at right now? Is the car sitting in front of?" And she told me. I said, "All right, take all that mail that you missed and toss it to the side. Take it back, case it up." I said, "Take a deep breath and, get yourself back on track." And I got her calmed down the best that I could. And she continued on. And then she called me back again, probably about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes later, just double checking her turnaround, which normally Monday through Friday is a lock pouch RMPO drop off, but it's not on Saturdays because the office isn't open. And the clerk takes it over to do the PO box. So she asked if that's where her turnaround point was for yesterday. And I said, "Yep, that is." Much better sounding mood. So she's like, "Okay, just checking." So she continues on. I heard from her a few times, just clarification on something on where to turn around or, what the next road or double verifying a certain box that maybe wasn't marked because, yeah, we're not going to go there. But so the rest of the day was going pretty good. Supervisor, and plus I have Life 360 on my phone, so if I had a moment at a box, I was double checking where she was to see how she was going. The regular happens to live on that route, so I got a message from him saying that she had arrived, and and so I was following through, and then supervisor calls me, and since my sub was running another route to go help where because she was getting about ready to start the back half, it was probably about 2:30ish, and she was proud of how far she'd gone, and just to see because the back half is just so hard to split off. It's a lot less populated, but it's a lot more miles driving wise. And so I suggested a certain spot because this used to be my old primary before I went regular. And so when she fed up with him, he's like, "Really? Why am I even out here if this is all I'm taking?" She did just over 3/4 of the route yesterday. I think he took the last 30, maybe 45 minutes off total. It is a 44K, so it's an 8.8 hour route. Her first day out on herself, she did all but that last 30, 45 minutes, I would say, on a heavier day. And yet, yesterday was a heavier day, Saturday, for that route compared to what she's done through OJT. So she was back. When I was still in the office, like supervisor, where she was at, knowing what he was taking off of her. I said, yeah, she should be back about 5:30. She had a package that she missed, so she had to deliver that when she was done, and she had two that she forgot, or that got missed. I'm saying that she didn't forget, but it got missed giving it to the other RCA to take off of. So she delivered those two, and I had told supervisor 5:30 she'd probably be back. She was back at 5:38. And really, the only mail she brought back was that one small little section that she got a little messed up at, and I think maybe just a couple other boxes for the rest of the route. So she put in 8, 4, 5, 9.5 hours on her very first day on an 8.8 hour route, and did everything but the last 15 miles of it.
Can we just give her a round of applause for
Of a
that?
95-mile route.
She deserves a round of applause for that. That's spectacular. But I guess that you just trained her well. That's the most important part.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Yes, she did very well. When we did the back half on Friday, and she was straddling in my Jeep for the first time, and I sat in the back seat, and the back half of the route for the regular carrier or for myself when I ran it was usually 2.5 hours. She knocked it out. It was a little bit of a lighter day, but that's all right. She's straddling in a different vehicle and moving along, and she did it in about 2.5, just under 3 hours. In fact, we had an hour and 45 minutes to hang out at the office to complete her 24 hours of OJT time. And so in that time, we went through the OJT checklist. We went over forms, information. She got a full tour of everything in the office, including the storage rooms. So yeah, I everybody was quite proud of her for how much she did on her first time out. She did quite well.
We're proud of her too. We're proud of her too.
Thanks, guys.
No accidents, no animal kills,
Yet,
day. And she got home safely.
And my car
Yes.
is in one piece.
The most important part.
And to clarify, I only hit one mailbox.
And she only nudged one mailbox with my mirror. And it was a plastic one, so no scrapes.
Not bad, not bad. But good job
She
on her first
rubbed
day.
it. She didn't hit it. She rubbed it. It happens to the rest. We all do that, even in our LLVs.
Well, tell her we say it only gets better from here. Gets easier over time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
It
James.
does.
Easier. Doesn't get better. It gets easier.
But no, yeah.
I'm trying to talk her up. Come on now.
No, we had
Yes,
some
but you
good
need to
stuff
be.
during training. She got to do a certified. She had a signature Amazon package. She got to experience a little bit during training, so that helped. And being a POV route, I told her case that DPS for as long as she's comfortable doing it. If that's going to work best for her, they can't tell her no. So, yeah,
Hey,
she's
got a problem with that? Talk to my mom.
her regular is also the local steward.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, no, she did well. Did very well out on the street. She did awesome. Even the other sub's like, why am I even out here if this is all you're giving me?
Hmm.
So I think even if she would have took the whole route, she still probably would have been back around 6. I'm thinking. Pretty close to it. So, yeah, she did really good for her first time out. Proud of her. And she gets to do it all over again next Saturday.
And she took care of the most important delivery of the day.
Yes, she did. Got home to her baby. Yep. So yeah, that was her first day as an RCA on her own.
And this just goes to show anybody out there, you're going to have a rough time your first time. There are carriers like myself. It took me 6 months to get used to the job.
Me too.
6 months to get it to click.
I
Bill's an exception. Bill's an exception, said he got it in a month. So
still remember my very first day out solo. I didn't even get through a third of the route. I was on a 47K POV route. I didn't even get through a third of the route by 5 p.m. and I had 2 RCAs coming out and taking the rest off of me and splitting it up and sending me back to the office. So yeah, I remember how bad it is the first day, and she impressed us all.
she nailed it.
Mm-hmm. And it was heavier than the other 4 days. I mean, it was quite a bit heavier. And the regular had a feeling it would be, just because during the week it had been lighter, so he kind of figured Saturday would end up being heavier for that route. It was heavier for her, it wasn't for me, but again, she's got a totally different zip code. And whereas my route's more in town, and so yeah, getting out of the office normally, like on a Monday, I'm mad if I'm out of the office at 10:30 because that doesn't put me back till 5:30 sometimes. But I was still back by 3:30, so I was able to monitor how she was and field a couple phone calls with a couple questions on if something was the right address or where to turn around at. So she did good. Cause she's a stalker. Oh, no, I was just, your trainer keeping tabs on you and how well you were doing. So, Big Mama's watching you.
I do like the comment when you said, well, where are you? I don't know where I'm at. Just look at the mail.
Yeah, no, it's like, all right, okay, where are you physically sitting right now? That way I know what mail you just tossed to the side. She made sure all the packages that she had missed, a couple of them that she had missed on one road, it was really great that she caught them before she was completely 20 miles away on the other side of the route. She caught them right away and backtracked to go deliver them. And I told her, I said, that's fine. I missorted 4 of my packages and had to go back for all 4 of them yesterday. It happens. We all do it, even as regulars. We have to backtrack at times. So no, she did. She made sure everything was delivered before she came back. She knows how to use her package look ahead, and yeah, she did really good.
Meow says, follow the mail, LOL. I had to laugh because my last route that I had for years and years and years, you hit a mailbox, but then you came to a curve and kind of made a veering left to the house, which had a business. So I had to make a left turn there. And most times when you're doing your route, you're making right turns. So they missed that one. So when you came out of that second mailbox, you also had to make a right turn and then a pull forward and back up to hit 2 mailboxes on the same side of that road, and then turn left back on the Sconnelltown. Well, they went down to the next road, turned right on Rosewood, and they couldn't find the mail. They couldn't find the addresses for what they had on Sconnelltown. So they delivered Rosewood. They went down and they're supposed to turn left on Shropshire. They didn't. They turned right on Springwood. So they took all the mail, which is probably a third of the route from Shropshire all the way to Springwood, and put it in the back because they couldn't find. So they couldn't follow the mail because they couldn't look for the next address before they left the last mailbox on Sconnelltown and see that it said Shropshire. Came back and had almost 70% of the mail with them, plus all the parcels. And it says, if you're having problems, why didn't you call? Well, I didn't want to bother you on your day off. Like, oh God. Of course, yeah. I don't need to explain to you that they didn't make it. So
I know, yeah. She made sure all the parcels were delivered, and that little bit of mail that she missed from that having to turn left into that hardship, because it's when you got to go up and you still service it from the car, but it's up the driveway, and the line of travel needs some work. She caught some spots where it was wrong. It had where you're supposed to turn right off the one road. It said to turn left. But it worked out for her because she had missed a package going that way, so she delivered that and then turned around and got back on track. So no, she did pretty good.
that's why I always thought it was important for a sub to get 2 days of training seeing the route.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that then they get familiar with the way the route rolls. And once you see the route, to me, you can see the case.
Yes.
If that makes any sense to you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It does.
Because you remember, oh my God, yeah, that's over here. It's not over there. And I always thought that was important, but management knows better.
Yeah, it
I think
happens,
so.
but I said we will get a placard in for that hardship, so you'll remember it next time. We ended up dividing her training up between the 2 weeks because they were going to do 3 days last week and then 1 day, or 3 days the week before and 1 day last week, and then put her on her own. I said, if you're going to split it up, let's do it the 2 this week and then do 2 next week, do Thursday and Friday, and then it's still fresh in her brain on Saturday, because we've been doing 4 days, 6 hours a day. And, oh, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Well, yeah, it does. Hello. And even Friday when we finished up, she still went out and drove that front part of the route because, like I said, that's the most populated and has the most turns and roads. So she still went back out Friday evening and drove most of the first half of the route before she just realized it was getting late. She was tired and wanted to come home and go to bed. So, yeah, no, she wanted to quit probably about 6 different times, including about 3 times in the office yesterday. But, she stuck through it, and she did really good.
Sounds about normal.
Yep, yep.
Hey, I know regulars that do that, 4 or 5 times a day.
Yes, we all have those
That's
days.
true too.
But, yeah, she made it through her first solo day. Can't wait till we get those extra pedals to get installed. I got somebody that's willing to help install them so she can use her vehicle and not mine.
Nice.
Yep. So,
Well, we wish her luck, and we are very proud of her for what she did.
and she is attending
Yep,
Mid-States, so she will be there. So will Little Man, and she's bringing a friend with her to babysit Little Man while we're in the conference.
So it sounds like
that's
Bill
what they
needs to
need.
attend Mid-States.
Oh, you just want me to start shit. That's all.
When don't you?
Exactly.
Yes, it's the first weekend of May, Mr. Johnson.
Well, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, neither do I. We hit our third concert in 3 weeks last week as well. So outside of that, I don't have anything else. You got anything else, Bill?
Might be a house owner by the end of tomorrow. I don't know.
All right,
Yep,
guys,
yep.
we'll wrap this up for tonight. Final words, James.
Yeah, we were all over the place on this episode. We went from questions and answers and things that were going on in our offices to the Postal Pulse survey, and that is your option. There are identifying markers on it. The barcode at the bottom of the back of the page matches the numbers that are on the front of the page, that matches the numbers that are on the envelope when it's delivered to you. On top of that, the QR code matches at the top right corner on the front, matches the number to the left of it. So there are identifying numbers on there. If you write on it, like Bill said he did, they're going to just throw it out. So if you want to fill it out, just fill out the bubbles and send it in. And it gives management a bonus. And there are some times where management will come and talk with you about your answers on the survey. Not always, not guaranteed. So don't think if you put specific answers on there that management's going to come talk to you, but they might. Just putting it out there. And if you are afraid of that, don't fill out the survey. If you feel like you can handle it, want to put up with management coming after you, retaliating against you for the answers in some instances, fill it out. But I'm not going to give an opinion one way or the other because I believe everybody's smart enough to make their own decisions. Other than that, it's looking like it's going to be a fun week for me out here heading to Montana. And severe weather is possible at the end of this week. So if you're in the affected areas that already have what is considered a slight risk for severe weather by the Storm Prediction Center already, keep your eye out. Keep your eye on the weather. But if not, still keep an eye on the weather because there's still fire weather out in the West, Texas, and other areas as well. So keep your head on a swivel. Keep yourself safe. Make sure you educate yourself because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Bill?
Well, the topics, like you said, we're all over the place. And, it was fun with the survey and everything. And you're right, James. I mean, they track them surveys. Don't believe that you're anonymous in any fashion whatsoever. I do remember one year when the supervisors came around and actually handed them out to us. And I opened it up in front of them and looked at it. And I says, what's this? Well, you have to do this. I turned around and tore it up and threw it in the trash. And he said, you can be fired for that. And I said, why? It's a voluntary thing. I said, I don't volunteer to waste my time on it. And I said, it's not required by contract to do it. So, you go ahead and do what you want. I said, because, I'll laugh all the way to the bank if you try to do any disciplinary, procedures on me. Well, of course, it never became an, item for them. But the fact of the matter is that, like Jane says, we're intelligent enough. You do what you want to do in regards to filling it out and submitting it. But don't believe for 1 minute that they take any of this into context in regards to improving management at any level. It's just a survey they do, and James has repeated that it's similar to a survey that other people have done. It doesn't mean jack shit. Educate yourselves, stand up for yourselves, stand up for others. The intelligent carrier is the most dangerous carrier in the office because you're fighting a battle with people of less guile and intelligence in regards to the contract, Rex, RCAM, M38, the Elmer, right? Anything. They're all following the example of the people above them. I got a phone call this weekend from a carrier / steward who then turned around and put their postmaster on, and he wanted to know if I knew of anything about fringe benefits. And I said, in regards to what? He says, well, I got a email today mentioning fringe benefits. He says, do you know what that is? I said, yeah, having helpful management. And he started laughing. He said, I don't think that's what it is. I said, no, but it would be helpful. But the fact of the matter is, here's a postmaster asking me a question about an email he received and had no idea what fringe benefits are. I don't know in what context the fringe benefits were referring to, but how can you have somebody in that position asking a carrier about something they received in an email? How can you be responsible for everybody in that office and not know what the hell the email was addressing? It's just another point that the The people in management are not there because they're good managers. They're good because they will obey the people above them. They will be on their 1030 telecom when they're supposed to be. They'll try to enforce rules that violate the contract because they're afraid of losing their jobs. And it's a shame that they live in fear of losing their positions because of somebody above them. That's not how you manage a successful company. And treating your ground troops, the carriers, the clerks, the BMF, anybody, managing them and treating them like scum is not the way to run a successful organization. And until that actually changes, and it's an uphill battle, folks, I'm not going to lie, the post office will never get any better financially, from a managerial standpoint, from a labor standpoint. But if you don't start small, it'll never grow into a movement to make those changes. We are now coming up on May 1st, where we're having a local meeting, my local chapter, where we have 2 other local chapters considering merging with us because they can't get enough participation at the local level for meetings, for participation in their state conventions. How sad is that? Because of the fact that so many people have given up? No, don't give up. Stand up. Speak out. Write resolutions. Research the people who are on your delegate ballot for the national convention. Don't select people just because you recognize their names. Select people because they represent your views, or represent yourself. Nominate yourself. Most states will allow you to nominate yourself for the national convention, and then talk it up in your locals, at your office, to people that you associate with in other offices. But don't accept the status quo. This is what this is all about. This is about changing the status quo and making things better for the craft in its entirety. Not 1 or 2 people, but for everybody. Whether you're in the union or not, we have a responsibility to protect our fellow carriers from mismanagement, from threats, from intimidation. And if you don't step up for somebody else, one day they'll come for you. And I can give you history lessons in regards to what happens when you don't step up for people. But the fact of the matter is, once it starts, it'll never stop until you step forward and say, enough. God bless you all. Be safe. James, be careful on your travels there. Everybody have a good week, depending on where you are weather-wise. Be safe, be diligent, be efficient, be professional, be courteous, be kind to each other. And make sure you get yourself home to your loved ones, because you are the most important delivery of the day. Kristen?
Thank you, guys. Yes, James, make sure you have a safe travels for the rest of your commute out there, and of course your commute home. And we look forward to the highlights from Western states when you get back. And yeah, as you know, Bill makes a valid point. You gotta stand up. You gotta educate each other, educate yourself, be active. I know we've had several locals combine in with others just in my state alone because of lack of participation. Even my annual local meeting's coming up later this week. I mean, that's the first meeting we've had since our annual last year. So I understand it's not easy. I'm trying to bring in all the newbies that I can. I really am. I've even told some of the newer ones in my office, RCAs, hey, if you want to go, let's carpool. I'll take you. We need to get them there. So they know what it's about. But on that note, guys, everybody have a safe week. If you're in weather areas, please make sure that you stay safe, definitely. I did have one question come up on the messenger I want to bring up real quick for you guys before we wrap up, because I personally don't know an answer, and I don't know if either one of you do, but we'll see. Can a carrier be fired if found Jesus and want to take their children to church on Sunday? I'm going to assume that this would be an RCA or a PTF.
So if it's an ARC, they were specifically hired on the basis of Amazon Sunday, mostly. For an RCA, now it is, if it doesn't cause a detriment to the office, it is possible. That was the ruling that they got. You remember that? It's if it's not a
No,
detriment to the office, and management will turn around and make it a detriment to the office.
but that case was specifically in Pennsylvania, and that gentleman won that case because he was an RCA. And they said you can't
Yes.
do that because of the fact you'd have to prove that it was a extreme hardship, and they couldn't prove that it was an extreme hardship. Was it a detriment? Yes. But the fact of the matter was, it was not an emergency situation and did not create an extreme hardship, and that guy won the case. ARCs, you're correct.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
if you sign on it for as an ARC, you're signing up for Sundays. You know, let's not be stupid.
All right, thank you guys. I just wanted to put that one out there. And definitely, if they are having pushback in their office, they need to reach out and to their designated union rep for that, anyways. So, but on that note, guys,
Yep,
stay
exactly.
safe. Yeah, stay safe, guys, and we shall be back next week. Oh wait, next week's Easter. Do we want to take
I'll
the
be in
Easter
church
holiday off?
I'll be driving back, so.
All right. So yeah. Speaking of Jesus, next week is Easter weekend. We will take this week off if we come up with a midweek, or if I get my edit book thing done this week. I don't know if I will or not. I'll post that. But all right, we will be back for sure in 2 weeks. So everybody, take care and be safe out there.
And don't forget, us older people, we're out till dark trying to find where we hid the eggs in the first place.
There's your closing.
Yes.